We often hear the phrase, kindness is a virtue, and yes, it is. But what happens when your kindness becomes excessive, when it is taken for granted? There is a difference between being kind and being so kind that you forget about yourself. Today, I want you to consider this. Are you being too kind, too giving to those around you, to the point where it's affecting your own well-being? It's time to stop giving so much of yourself to everyone else and leaving nothing for you. We need to redefine what kindness really means. True kindness includes respecting your own boundaries, valuing your time, and honoring your energy. If your kindness leads you to feel drained, used, or taken advantage of, it is no longer kindness, it's a form of self-neglect. We often associate kindness with giving, whether it's our time, our resources, or our emotional energy. Society teaches us that kindness is one of the greatest virtues, something we should practice regularly. But what happens when kindness crosses the line into self-sacrifice? When giving too much of ourselves begins to take a toll on our emotional and physical health, we must ask, is this really kindness, or is it something else? There's a deep misconception that to be kind, you must be selfless, constantly putting others before yourself. Many of us were raised to believe that the more we give, the kinder we are, and that this constant giving is a measure of our value. However, when kindness becomes synonymous with sacrifice, it can lead to burnout, resentment, and a sense of emptiness. Kindness is a beautiful quality, but not when it depletes us. The problem with overextending kindness is that we begin to neglect ourselves. It's easy to get caught up in helping others to the point where we overlook our own needs. We become so focused on being there for everyone else that we forget to check in with ourselves. Our time becomes stretched, our energy dwindles, and slowly we start to feel drained. This isn't the essence of kindness, it's a form of self-neglect disguised as generosity. You might think that giving all you have to others is noble, but what happens when you have nothing left to give? Imagine trying to pour water from an empty cup. It's impossible. The same is true for kindness. If you don't replenish your own energy, if you don't care for yourself, you won't have the resources to give to others in a meaningful way. Genuine kindness comes from a place of abundance. When you take care of yourself first, you can give from a place of wholeness, not depletion. One of the dangers of being too kind is that people start to expect it. When you're always the one who says yes, the one who never complains, the one who sacrifices their time for everyone else, others may begin to take you for granted. They may assume that you'll always be there to pick up the pieces, to lend a hand, or to offer support even when you're exhausted. This can lead to an unhealthy dynamic where your kindness is not appreciated, but rather expected. And when kindness becomes an obligation, it loses its beauty. To stop this cycle, it's crucial to establish boundaries. Boundaries are not walls, they are guidelines that protect your well-being while allowing you to engage with others in a healthy way. Setting boundaries doesn't make you unkind, it makes you wise. When you say no to things that drain you, you're not withholding kindness, you're preserving your energy for when you can give genuinely and without resentment. It's essential to remember that kindness should never feel like a burden. It should come from a place of joy, not obligation. There's also the misconception that being kind means always putting others before yourself. But if you constantly prioritize everyone else's needs above your own, where does that leave you? Kindness isn't about erasing yourself, it's about showing compassion in a way that honors both you and the other person. You can be kind and still prioritize your own well-being. In fact, the kindest thing you can do for others is to take care of yourself first. When you're well-rested, emotionally stable, and energized, you're in a far better position to help others. Another important aspect to consider is self-respect. If you don't respect your own time and energy, others won't either. When you allow people to take advantage of your kindness, you send the message that your needs are secondary. But your needs are important. You deserve the same care and attention that you give to others. Kindness begins with how you treat yourself. If you're constantly sacrificing your own needs to make others happy, you're not being kind, you're being self-destructive. Real kindness involves balance. It's about finding that sweet spot where you can give without depleting yourself. It's knowing when to step in and help and when to step back and recharge. It's being mindful of your own energy levels and not pushing yourself to the point of exhaustion just to meet someone else's needs. Kindness doesn't have to mean giving everything sometimes. It means giving just enough and then stepping back to take care of yourself. Ultimately, kindness should feel good. It should bring a sense of fulfillment and connection. If your kindness is leaving you feeling worn out, it's time to reassess. Ask yourself if you're giving too much, if you're sacrificing too often, and if your kindness is coming at the cost of your own well-being. It's okay to pull back. It's okay to say no. And it's okay to be kind to yourself first. In fact, that's where true kindness begins. When you honor your own needs, you're able to give to others in a way that is healthy, balanced, and sustainable. Boundaries are an essential aspect of living a healthy, balanced life, yet many people struggle with setting them, particularly when they want to be kind and helpful to others. While kindness is a virtue, it does not require you to neglect your own needs or to let others encroach on your personal space, whether that's emotional, mental, or physical. Learning to set clear boundaries is a powerful act of self-care, one that protects your energy, your well-being, and your ability to give to others in a meaningful and sustainable way. When we talk about boundaries, we're referring to the invisible lines that define what is acceptable for you in terms of how others treat you. These boundaries exist in all areas of life, whether it's with family, friends, colleagues, or even strangers. When you lack boundaries or when your boundaries are unclear, people may unintentionally or sometimes intentionally overstep. They may ask for too much, expect too much, or take more than you're willing to give. Without boundaries, you may find yourself in situations where you feel uncomfortable, resentful, or even overwhelmed. The first step in setting clear boundaries is recognizing that you have the right to do so. Many people feel guilty about saying no or about asking for the space they need, but the truth is, you are not responsible for everyone else's happiness. You are responsible for your own. Setting boundaries is not an act of selfishness, it's an act of self-respect. It's acknowledging that your time, energy, and emotional well-being are valuable, and that you deserve to protect them. One common barrier to setting boundaries is the fear of disappointing others. You may worry that if you say no or set a limit, people will think less of you or that you'll lose their affection or approval. But the reality is, people who truly care about you will respect your boundaries. They may not always like them, but they will understand that you are doing what is necessary for your own well-being. It's important to remember that you cannot control how others react to your boundaries, but you can control whether or not you enforce them. Boundaries are not about pushing people away, they are about creating healthy spaces where relationships can thrive without resentment or overexertion. When setting boundaries, clarity is key. Vague boundaries can lead to misunderstandings or confusion, so it's important to communicate them clearly and directly. For example, if you need time to yourself, you might say, "I'm happy to help, but I need some time to recharge first. Let's reconnect later." Or, if someone asks for too much of your time, you could say, "I can help for an hour, but after that, I need to focus on other commitments." Clear communication helps others understand where you stand and reduces the chances of them unknowingly overstepping. It's also essential to be consistent with your boundaries. If you set a boundary but don't follow through with it, people may start to ignore it. Consistency shows others that you are serious about your limits and that you respect yourself enough to uphold them. If you find that people continue to disregard your boundaries, it may be time to reevaluate the relationship. Healthy relationships are built on mutual respect. And if someone is not willing to respect your boundaries, it may be a sign that they don't have your best interests at heart. Another aspect of setting boundaries is learning to let go of guilt. Many people feel guilty when they set limits because they've been conditioned to believe that saying no is selfish or unkind. But protecting your energy is not something to feel guilty about. In fact, it's one of the kindest things you can do for both yourself and others. When you honor your own needs, you show up as a more present, focused, and engaged person. You're not giving from a place of exhaustion or resentment, but from a place of true generosity. There's also a practical side to boundaries. Without them, you can easily overcommit and stretch yourself too thin, When you say yes to everything, you may find yourself running from one task to another, feeling constantly overwhelmed. Boundaries help you manage your time and energy more effectively. They allow you to prioritize what's truly important and to say no to things that don't align with your values or goals. By setting boundaries, you create space in your life for the things that matter most to you, whether that's spending time with loved ones, pursuing a passion, or simply resting. Lastly, setting boundaries is not just about saying no to others, it's also about saying yes to yourself. It's about recognizing your worth and giving yourself permission to take up space in the world. Boundaries help you cultivate a sense of empowerment. As you take control of your own life and decisions, they allow you to focus on what brings you joy and fulfillment, rather than constantly catering to the needs and expectations of others. In conclusion, setting clear boundaries is a necessary practice for maintaining a healthy and balanced life. It's a way of honoring your own needs and protecting your well-being, while also fostering healthier, more respectful relationships. Boundaries allow you to give to others from a place of abundance rather than depletion, and help you navigate life with greater clarity, confidence, and peace. By setting clear boundaries, you create a life where both you and those around you can thrive. It is a natural human instinct to want to help others, to bring joy to the lives of those we care about, and to do our best to make the people around us happy. However, it is important to recognize a fundamental truth: you are not responsible for everyone's happiness. This realization can be both freeing and challenging, especially for those who tend to prioritize the needs and feelings of others above their own. The desire to make others happy often stems from a place of kindness and compassion, but when taken too far, it can lead to exhaustion, resentment, and a loss of self-identity. At the heart of this issue is the misunderstanding that we have control over other people's emotions. While we can certainly contribute to someone's happiness or comfort them during difficult times, we cannot control their inner world. Each person is responsible for their own feelings, decisions, and mindset. When you take on the burden of someone else's happiness, you place an unrealistic expectation on yourself, and in doing so, you risk losing sight of your own emotional well-being. People often feel responsible for others' happiness because they believe that if they don't step in to fix things, they're failing in some way. But happiness is an internal state that comes from within, shaped by an individual's thoughts, beliefs, and life experiences. You can offer support and encouragement, but the responsibility for how someone feels lies with them. This distinction is crucial because it allows you to give love and kindness freely without feeling like it is your job to resolve every emotional issue that arises in someone else's life. When you make other people's happiness your responsibility, you may begin to bend over backward to meet their needs, sometimes at the expense of your own. You might say yes when you really want to say no, or you might take on tasks and emotional burdens that aren't yours to carry. Over time, this pattern of behavior can lead to burnout. You may find yourself feeling drained, resentful, or overwhelmed because you've placed the happiness of others above your own. This doesn't mean you should stop being caring or considerate. It means recognizing that your kindness and support have limits, and those limits are necessary to preserve your own emotional health. Additionally, when you take on the role of trying to make others happy, you may inadvertently hinder their personal growth. By always stepping in to solve problems or ensure their emotional comfort, you might prevent them from learning how to navigate challenges on their own. Everyone has their own path to happiness, and that journey often involves overcoming obstacles, learning from mistakes, and developing emotional resilience. By allowing others to take responsibility for their own feelings, you give them the opportunity to grow and develop the skills necessary for long-term emotional well-being. Another challenge that arises when you try to make others happy is that it often leads to codependent relationships. In such relationships, one person may derive their sense of worth from making the other person happy, while the other person becomes dependent on them for emotional support. This dynamic is unhealthy for both parties. The person trying to make others happy may feel trapped, as though their value is tied to how well they can meet someone else's emotional needs. Meanwhile, the other person may never learn to take responsibility for their own emotions or become overly reliant resources for their happiness. It's also important to remember that people have their own emotional baggage, histories, and struggles that you may not fully understand or be able to fix. You can offer empathy, but you cannot erase someone's pain or change the way they perceive the world. It's unrealistic to believe that you can solve all of their problems or ensure their constant happiness. Life is filled with ups and downs, and everyone must face their own challenges. Trying to shield others from discomfort may seem compassionate, but it often prevents them from experiencing the growth that comes from working through difficult emotions. Learning to release the responsibility for other people's happiness can be liberating. It frees you from the pressure of constantly trying to manage others' emotions and allows you to focus on your own well-being. You can still be a loving and supportive presence in the lives of those around you, but you can do so without sacrificing your own happiness in the process. Recognizing that you are not responsible for how others feel doesn't mean that you stop caring. It means that you understand the boundaries between what you can and cannot control. Ultimately, the most powerful gift you can give others is not to take responsibility for their happiness, but to empower them to find it within themselves. Encourage them to explore their own inner landscape, to identify what brings them joy, and to take responsibility for their emotional health. In doing so, you not only free yourself from an impossible burden, but you also allow others the space to grow and discover their own path to happiness. By letting go of the need to control or fix, you cultivate relationships that are based on mutual respect, support, and understanding. Happiness is a personal journey, and each individual must take responsibility for their own. Respecting yourself first is one of the most fundamental and transformative acts you can commit to in your life. It is the foundation upon which all other aspects of your well-being are built: your relationships, your work, your self-image, and your sense of purpose. When you respect yourself, you are acknowledging your inherent worth and treating yourself with the care, kindness, and dignity that you deserve. It's about recognizing your values, setting boundaries, and making choices that honor your mental, emotional, and physical well-being. At its core, self-respect is about knowing that you matter. The journey to self-respect begins with self-awareness. It requires looking inward and understanding who you are, what you believe in, and what you stand for. Too often, people go through life seeking validation from others, measuring their worth by external standards like success, appearance, or approval. But true respect comes from within. It means knowing that you are enough just as you are without needing anyone else to confirm it. This doesn't mean you're perfect, but it means you recognize your strengths, accept your flaws, and are committed to personal growth. One of the key elements of respecting yourself is setting healthy boundaries. Boundaries are essential because they protect your time, energy, and emotional well-being. When you respect yourself, you understand that you have the right to say no to things that drain you or don't align with your values. This can be difficult, especially if you're used to putting others' needs before your own, but it's necessary for your well-being. Saying no doesn't make you selfish, it makes you strong. It's an act of self-preservation and a way to ensure that you're giving to others from a place of fullness rather than depletion. Self-respect also means standing up for yourself when necessary. This doesn't mean you have to be confrontational, but it does mean you should be willing to advocate for your needs and desires. Too often, people let others walk all over them because they're afraid of conflict or rejection. But when you respect yourself, you realize that your voice matters and that you deserve to be heard. It's about having the courage to assert your worth in situations where you might otherwise stay silent. When you stand up for yourself, you reinforce your value in your own eyes, and that strengthens your sense of self-respect. In addition to setting boundaries and advocating for yourself, self-respect also involves taking care of your physical and emotional health. It's about treating your body with the respect it deserves, eating nourishing foods, getting enough rest, and engaging in regular physical activity. It's also about protecting your emotional health by surrounding yourself with people who uplift you and by letting go of toxic relationships or situations. When you respect yourself, you prioritize your well-being over the pressures or expectations of others. You recognize that you are worthy of love, care, and attention, and you take steps to provide that for yourself. Another aspect of self-respect is recognizing that you don't need to prove your worth to anyone. Many people fall into the trap of overworking themselves, overextending their kindness, or striving for perfection in an attempt to earn respect from others. But respect is not something that can be demanded or earned through external achievements. It's something that is cultivated from within. You don't need to bend over backward to please others or to meet unrealistic expectations. Your worth is not contingent on how much you do or how perfectly you perform. It's inherent in who you are. When you stop trying to prove yourself to others, you free yourself from the cycle of seeking validation and begin to build genuine self-respect. Self-respect also involves self-compassion. It's about being kind to yourself, especially when you make mistakes or fall short of your expectations. Recognizing that you are human and that mistakes are part of growth. When you respect yourself, you allow yourself to learn from your experiences without letting them define your worth. Moreover, respecting yourself first sets the tone for how others will treat you. When you hold yourself in high regard, you send a message to the world that you expect to be treated with the same level of respect. People often take cues from how you treat yourself. If you allow others to overstep your boundaries, or if you constantly put yourself last, they may follow suit. But when you respect yourself, you naturally attract relationships and situations that reflect that respect back to you. You set the standard for how you want to be treated, and those who don't honor that standard often fall away, leaving space for more supportive, loving connections. In the end, respecting yourself first is not about putting yourself above others. It's about honoring your own needs and values so that you can show up fully in your life. It's about cultivating a strong sense of self-worth and refusing to compromise that for anyone or anything. When you respect yourself, you create a solid foundation for living a life that is authentic, fulfilling, and deeply aligned with your true self. It's an ongoing practice, one that requires awareness, commitment, and a deep belief in your own inherent worth. But the more you respect yourself, the more you open the door to a life that honors who you truly are. Kindness is a beautiful quality that reflects compassion, empathy, and a desire to uplift others. It strengthens relationships, creates a sense of community, and fosters positivity in the world. However, while kindness is a virtue, it must be balanced with self-awareness, boundaries, and discernment. Unchecked kindness, especially when it is given without consideration for one's own well-being, can lead to emotional exhaustion, resentment, and feelings of being taken advantage of. To be truly kind, you must learn to give in a way that honors both others and yourself. Balancing kindness ensures that you can continue to offer it genuinely and sustainably. At the core of balanced kindness is the recognition that being kind does not mean saying yes to everything or everyone. Many people, especially those who are naturally giving, fall into the trap of overcommitting or putting others' needs above their own. They say yes when they really want to say no, fearing that they will disappoint others or be seen as unkind. However, constant self-sacrifice does not lead to long-term well-being. When you give more than you have to offer, whether it's time, energy, or emotional support, you risk becoming drained, frustrated, and disconnected from your own needs. To maintain balance, it's essential to set healthy boundaries. Boundaries are not about being unkind or selfish. They are about protecting your emotional, physical, and mental health. When you set boundaries, you are acknowledging your own limits and communicating to others what you are able to offer without compromising yourself. This can be as simple as saying no to a request that feels overwhelming or declining to engage in activities that leave you feeling depleted. Balancing kindness with boundaries ensures that your kindness is offered from a place of abundance, not obligation or resentment. Being discerning about when and how you offer kindness is also crucial. There are times when helping others is the right thing to do, but there are also situations where kindness can be misused or taken for granted. Some people may take advantage of your generosity, repeatedly asking for help without reciprocating or without consideration for your time and energy. In these cases, it's important to assess whether your kindness is truly benefiting the other person or simply enabling them. Learning when to step back, when to offer support, and when to let others handle their own challenges is a key part of balanced kindness. Another important aspect of balanced kindness is understanding that you cannot be everything to everyone. It is impossible to meet everyone's needs or solve all their problems, and attempting to do so can leave you feeling overwhelmed and inadequate. Kindness should not come at the cost of your own well-being. You must prioritize your own self-care and recognize that it is okay to put your needs first. In fact, taking care of yourself allows you to be more present and effective when you do offer kindness to others. When you are well-rested, emotionally grounded, and clear about your own boundaries, your kindness is more genuine and impactful. It's also essential to recognize that true kindness involves honesty. Sometimes being kind means having difficult conversations or setting boundaries that may initially upset others. For example, if a friend is engaging in harmful behavior, the kindest thing you can do may be to have a conversation with them about it, rather than enabling their actions through silence or passive support. Kindness is not about always being agreeable or avoiding conflict. It's about doing what is in the best interest of the other person, even if it's uncomfortable in the moment. Balancing kindness with honesty ensures that your actions are rooted in authenticity, not people-pleasing. Moreover, balanced kindness involves being kind to yourself. Often people are quick to offer compassion and understanding to others, but they are much harsher when it comes to themselves. They might push themselves too hard, criticize their own mistakes, or ignore their own needs in favor of taking care of others. But self-kindness is just as important as kindness toward others. When you treat yourself with the same compassion, patience, and care that you offer to those around you, you create a more balanced and fulfilling life. You can't pour from an empty cup in order to be kind to others. You must first be kind to yourself. Balancing kindness also means recognizing that kindness is not always grand gestures or heroic acts. Sometimes the most meaningful forms of kindness are the small, everyday acts that go unnoticed. It could be offering a listening ear, providing a word of encouragement, or simply being present for someone in need. These quiet acts of kindness are just as valuable as the larger ones, and they can often have a profound impact. By focusing on small, consistent acts of kindness, you can maintain balance and ensure that your kindness is sustainable in the long run. In essence, balanced kindness is about giving from a place of wholeness rather than depletion. It's about understanding your limits, setting boundaries, and being discerning about when and how you offer your support. It's about being honest with others and yourself, recognizing that kindness sometimes involves difficult truths. And most importantly, it's about being kind to yourself, ensuring that you are not sacrificing your own well-being in the name of helping others. When kindness is balanced, it becomes a powerful force for good one that enriches both the giver and the receiver. Knowing your worth is one of the most empowering realizations you can experience. It's about recognizing your value as a person, understanding what you bring to the table, and not settling for less than what you deserve in any aspect of your life. When you truly know your worth, you start to make decisions that align with that sense of self-respect and self-awareness. You no longer tolerate mistreatment, undervaluation, or situations that do not honor your true potential. Knowing your worth isn't just a concept, it's a mindset that affects your relationships, career, and overall happiness. At the heart of knowing your worth is self-awareness. You need to take the time to reflect on your strengths, talents, and unique qualities. This means understanding what makes you special, whether it's your ability to connect with people, your creativity, your resilience, or your empathy. Everyone has something valuable to offer, but the challenge lies in seeing those qualities in ourselves. When you recognize your abilities, you start to appreciate your value. This self-awareness also helps you understand what you need in return, whether from relationships, work, or personal pursuits. Knowing your worth also involves letting go of external validation. Society often measures worth through status, appearance, success, or other outward markers. However, true worth comes from within. When you constantly seek validation from others, you give away your power and allow others to define your value. This can lead to a cycle of seeking approval and never feeling good enough. Instead, when you know your worth, you realize that you don't need anyone else's approval to feel validated. You understand that your value isn't determined by how others see you or what they think of you. It's determined by how you see yourself. One of the most important aspects of knowing your worth is the ability to set boundaries. When you recognize your value, you no longer allow people to take advantage of you or treat you poorly. You understand that your time, energy, and emotional well-being are precious, and you start to protect them. This might mean saying no to people or situations that drain you, ending toxic relationships, or standing up for yourself when you feel disrespected. Setting boundaries is not about shutting others out, it's about creating space where you can thrive and maintain your sense of self-respect. When you honor your worth, others will follow suit. In the context of relationships, knowing your worth is crucial. It means not settling for relationships, whether romantic, familial, or friendships, that don't uplift or support you. Too often, people stay in relationships where they are undervalued because they don't recognize their own worth. They may fear being alone or believe that they don't deserve better. However, when you know your worth, you stop accepting less than what you deserve. You attract healthier, more respectful relationships because you are no longer willing to tolerate anything that doesn't align with your sense of self-respect. Knowing your worth also empowers you to be authentic in relationships without the need to compromise your values to please others. In your professional life, knowing your worth can have a transformative impact. It means valuing your skills, talents, and contributions and ensuring that they are recognized and fairly compensated. Whether it's negotiating for a raise, seeking out new opportunities, or starting a venture of your own, understanding your worth allows you to take control of your career path. Too often, people undervalue themselves at work, afraid to ask for what they deserve or to seek out roles that match their true potential. But when you know your worth, you have the confidence to pursue opportunities that align with your abilities and ambitions. You stop settling for jobs or roles that don't challenge or fulfill you. Another key component of knowing your worth is self-compassion. This involves treating yourself with kindness and understanding, especially when you make mistakes or face challenges. It's easy to be hard on yourself, especially when things don't go as planned or when you fall short of your goals. But when you know your worth, you realize that your value isn't contingent on perfection. You understand that mistakes are part of growth, and you allow yourself the grace to learn and move forward without diminishing your self-esteem. Self-compassion is an essential part of maintaining a healthy sense of worth because it ensures that you don't let setbacks define you. Knowing your worth is also about embracing your uniqueness. No one else in the world has your exact combination of experiences, talents, and perspectives. When you fully embrace who you are, flaws and all, you begin to see yourself as irreplaceable. This doesn't mean that you are better than anyone else. It simply means that you are unique, and that in itself has immense value. Embracing your individuality allows you to shine authentically without trying to fit into someone else's mold or meet their expectations. You stop comparing yourself to others and start celebrating your own journey. Ultimately, knowing your worth is a lifelong practice. It requires constant self-reflection, growth, and a commitment to honoring yourself in all areas of your life. The more you nurture your sense of self-worth, the more you create a life that reflects it, a life filled with respect, joy, and fulfillment. When you truly know your worth, you become unstoppable in pursuing your goals and creating the relationships and experiences that elevate you. You recognize that you deserve the best, and you're willing to put in the work to make it a reality.